Hello everybody, this is Senex, and I'm going to be bringing you a 1 versus 1 Protoss versus Protoss of VTWhiplash versus Maharishi. So I've been looking at the comments that have been left for these videos, and one of the things I've noticed, a lot of people have been saying I use kind of filler sentences or filler sounds too often, particularly the when I'm looking at something on the screen and getting a little overwhelmed with exactly what's going on there. So the goal for this cast, the personal caster goal for this cast, I'm going to try to not use that at all. So there might be a couple of pauses. I'm trying to gather my thoughts, but I think that once I can actually get it so that I'm keeping my flow going without needing to interrupt it with those little nothing phrases, it will just lead to an overall much better casting and listening experience for everybody. So this game was actually recommended to me by Whiplash. He had said that the game that I cast of him earlier was really just kind of a joke game. He wasn't taking it too seriously, and if I wanted to check out a really good game, that this was where it's at, so casting it on his recommendation. Obviously a PvP, and if you look around the map you'll notice that this is Entombed Valley and not the usual devolution that we've been watching recently. It's one of the two maps made by Baron, the fantastic creator of this 6 mineral field, 1 high yield gas variant of Starcraft 2. Right now the game's going in a very, very standard, even way. The gateway's very slightly faster for Maha, but nothing too out of the ordinary. They take their gas at the exact same time, both continuing pro production. They're going to need to watch out a little bit for that because it's already up to 13 probes, and so when you have 15, you're at your optimal saturation on just one base. So if either of these players is going for the early aggression that we usually see in a standard Protoss versus Protoss game, then they're going to max out on the number of workers that they need pretty quickly. So right now both players are just scouting around, trying to find their opponent that they know must be somewhere in one of these 4 corners of the map, but neither has successfully found the other yet. It's actually almost eerie watching how close these builds are mirroring each other, though. Maha has managed to get his cybernetics core up a bit faster, so if he dumps some chrono boosts into that, he might be able to get his warp gate out faster enough that he'll get a decent advantage over Whiplash. And right now you see a little bit of design philosophy difference in where they are placing their pylons. Whiplash trying to get a little bit of low ground warp in area, whereas Maha just has them linked right together so that they can't be depowered by any early attack. Oh, I did it just once, but they can't be attacked by and brought down by any early aggression. So right now we do have that one probe who's continuing to kick around. He probably wants to get out of there, though. That Stalker is going to be coming up pretty soon. And Maha has been dumping his chrono boost into getting that warp gate a little earlier and getting that Stalker out. And the Stalker is going to hunt and kill this probe. But at the same time, Maha is scouting his opponent. It's a sentry first build, so Whiplash is going to be able to control this ramp just a little bit better than his opponent is, and he goes straight for the robotics, so he's definitely going to be counting on that one unit to make sure that any very early shenanigans his opponent brings to bear, like for example blink stalkers as we are seeing, so that he can actually keep that under control, because if his opponent gets high ground vision and can blink up there and he doesn't have at least like 1 immortal and probably a couple of other units that he's gotten out of just the gateways, it's going to be a lot of trouble for him kind of trying to keep up with that mobility. Maha is pushing in with his first 2 zealots, and this is a pretty dangerous situation for Whiplash. So if both those get up the ramp, he really only has 1 unit to defend with. He does have 2 more on the way, but they're still about 10 seconds away, so if Maha just pushed right in right now, he would be able to kill that unit, and it's looking bad for that sentry, but Maha does pull back. That Stalker's definitely going to go down. Very nice force field, trapping it up in the high ground. But, oh, it was an almost snipe on that 1 sentry. But Whiplash did pull back. However, there is 1 Stalker who was a bad rally and is now being tracked down by Whiplash's Stalker. Not quite killed, but takes a lot of hard damage on his actual health points instead of just on the shield. So in the future, Maha's going to have to be a little more careful with that unit. They'll die a lot faster than they would have when they were still at full health. Right now we have the blink on the way for our red Protoss player. He's still continuing to build probes, but I'm not sure that that's the best idea, unless he's going to be taking an expansion pretty soon. If he's mostly trying to go for this 1 base aggression, he's completely oversaturated. You can see that with just 6 mineral patches, all of these workers are running around just trying to find something to do and not really having that much to work with. We do have the robotics facility on the way. That's obviously just going to be for an observer. He would not have anywhere near enough money to produce off of that, even on your standard 8 mineral and 2 gas Starcraft game. We do have the expansion going down for Whiplash, and that could be a big problem for him versus this Blink Stalker play. There's a back corridor around the left side of the map between these two bases, and a nice juicy ledge right here that you can blink up and down with as long as you have the observer spotting the high ground. And if you don't have enough units to just straight up beat your opponent's army when they get in that position, they're going to be able to force an engagement that you don't like. But this is a very, very nice observer floating around right in the front of Maha's base, keeping an eye on what's actually moving out, what's the threat that Whiplash is going to be facing soon. That one observer does move out, though they are going in completely different directions there, so they're not going to spot each other's observers. Right now, Whiplash is a little further out on the map than he might necessarily want to be, because he's in a very defensive posture. He got his expansion up considerably faster than his opponent, so if he's able to just keep that advantage and not have to take too much damage by a too aggressive move out, which actually looks like what he's doing, this might be a big mistake. There's a potential for a huge blink up that cliff. And there it is. Maha moving right into the natural expansion, killing one probe immediately, 2 probes right there. And there's this one pylon definitely going to go down, and Whiplash has to turn around and just run right back. It's not a good position for him to be in. Trying to get into the probes, but they are nicely pulled into that returning army. And aside from this one guy who might be in a little bit of trouble, he's like, come on, blink, finish. Nope, he does manage to escape as well. So yeah, absolutely no damage for Maha, but you can see that already Whiplash, having this earlier expansion, starting to give him a pretty good supply lead. He's up 10 supply already, and when you're only dealing with less than 50 supply from your opponent, that's an enormous advantage. We have the first Immortal hitting the field from our red Protoss player Maha. He has 1 sentry warping in. I'm not quite sure how I feel about that. I don't think it, well, probably just for Guardian Shield as I think about it. The Guardian Shield might be a worthwhile investment, but with just 1 sentry, there's no way he's going to be able to control this ramp, and if he loses this expansion, it's pretty much going to be game. He's now really counting on keeping up with his opponent economically. He is moving around this side, so there might be a blink right into the main right here, but that could have gone a lot better. I don't know if that was just a misclick on that blink, but now he's going to be easily forced away. This army got back just in time. And actually, it might have been a really good thing for these Blink Stalkers that they didn't make it all the way into the base, because if they had, this army would have completely crushed them. He does keep that observer alive, even though it was taking a little bit of fire, so he'll be able to keep on putting pressure on Whiplash and moving around with those Blink Stalkers. So one mistake I noticed on this map is that in this this natural only, there are 2 regular gas geysers instead of the 1 high yield that is at every other one. So it's going to give Whiplash a small advantage in the overall amount of gas that he's bringing in, but it will take him more workers to do it. So there's kind of a, you win some, you lose some, probably win out a bit more because gas is so important for just Protoss in general. We do see that the supply is approaching even and just reaching even for both players, so that early economic advantage that Whiplash had not quite carrying through anymore. He does have 3 more gateways on the way, trying to match the production of his opponent, but when we look at the units tab, we have more Immortals and a whole bunch of Zealots for our red Protoss player, so he's going to be counting a lot on the blink if Whiplash is going to try to defend against this. And oh no, I missed that engagement. Do I want to go back and take a look at it? Yeah, I think I will. Sorry, guys. Gonna reveal a little bit what's going on here. That's just way too important. You can see that there's a huge reduction in the number of Blink Stalkers there, so sorry about that. Pay no attention to the length of the game behind the curtain. We see that the Blink Stalkers are moving around the map, not quite set up for that fateful attack just yet. And as I was saying, it's definite that Maharishi is moving into a much more Zealot-focused composition. I would really like to see him going for the charge instead of just continuing to max out on nothing but these Immortals. And here are the Blink Stalkers. They're moving around, but this army's not very far away. And in a straight-up engagement, there's an equal number of Stalkers, even a small advantage now for Whiplash, and those 2 Immortals are just going to go to work on these Blink Stalkers the second that they move in. And here they are, Whiplash already moving into position to defend against it. There's one pylon that's taking some damage, will actually go down, but at what cost? We already see 4, maybe 5, no, not quite the 5th, but 4 Blink Stalkers going down for the cost of 1 pylon, and Ma is not pleased with the way that that ended up going for him. It was a very, very distinctly bad trade. Right now, he's pulling those units back. He knows that with just 4 Blink Stalkers, he's not going to be able to actually get in and do any real aggression. They could be fended off by even a big probe pull would probably be able to force those away, though at a decent cost. Right now, we do have the Blink coming up for Whiplash, and a Forge is actually going to begin getting upgrades, which is a very interesting difference in between the two players. It's also something that doesn't ordinarily come into play that much in even regular Protoss vs. Protoss, but the Templar Archives is coming into play for Maha. He's going to be utilizing the Archon, his Charge Lot Archon mix, if only he gets charge at some point. Nerdbusta has just had enough. He's leaving the game. I think it's that 3rd expansion. It's so different, it's so radical to actually be, expanding around the map in a Protoss vs. Protoss. But Maha has warped in another group of 4 Blink Stalkers, but he does not want to hop up there. It's way too dangerous. Yeah, he blinks out just in time before he's going to start taking some hull damage. And with this army, as long as he can continue controlling this space and this space from his opponent, he's going to be able to get very comfortably up to 3 bases. But Maha is at a supply lead right now, and you look at the army composition, I really think that Charge is where Maha's going to want to end up going. He's at 10 Zealots with the first Archon on the way, and I think I saw a couple more high tempo. No, not quite yet. But he does have the gas for it, though. He actually is making a large amount of money. He's going to be wanting to take this expand soon. You can see that's exactly what he's doing. He is taking down those destructible rocks, and is going to want to probably get another, at least 1 or 2 gateways, so that he'll be able to actually use all the money that he has. And you can see that gas bank completely vanishing as he tries to get even more of the Archons out, moving up to 3 right now. So I was trying to think, what is the best method for a Protoss to deal with Archons? Because they deal extra damage versus biological, which is, yeah, not a good thing when you're trying to surround them with Zealots. Immortals and Stalkers are not good units because they deal extra damage versus armored, and Archons are obviously psionic massive, so they don't take bonus damage aside from things like Ghost Snipe, and which I don't even think they would take damage from because they're not biological, and I guess Void Rays would be another one that deals bonus damage to massive, so maybe Void Rays would be if you had to pick a unit that you wanted to get a lot of against just a whole bunch of Archons. But we can see that right now Maha is getting into a very aggressive position. He's setting up his proxy pylon, but it's immediately scouted by this very nicely placed observer by Whiplash. And Whiplash is using that. Ooh, it wandered straight into the observer for Maha, wandered straight into the sight range of that cannon and was immediately taken down. So that means that right now this observer has absolutely nothing to fear. It can wander right over this army, knows that nothing can see it. And it lets Whiplash just be wandering back and forth. He'll never get into a bad position. And look at that, right at the top of the ramp as the engagement is going on. And look at those force fields, keeping these Immortals in the back so that all they're doing is shooting at these Zealots that are really not what they need to be dealing with, though. This Colossus is going to work, and it does eventually get taken down, but at what cost? He had to move all of his Stalkers straight into the guns of his opponent, and I don't see this ending well for Maha at all. That position at the top of the ramp, Big Concave, is just way too big, and we can see the GG from Maha right there. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of potential in the low mineral and low gas variant of Protoss vs. Protoss. You'll see that in order to get into anything too aggressive, they really did have to take this expansion and commit themselves to moving around a lot more with their army, having to deal with the Blink Stalker play, and be trying to constantly keep control of these 2 ramps, even throwing down static defenses, which is pretty uncommon in your usual Protoss vs. Protosses. And so I really think that there's going to be a lot of future games in this matchup that will benefit greatly from having to look at the balance between more money and more vulnerability that this variant brings out. So I just want to say that thanks everybody for offering me the constructive criticism. You guys have been really supportive and I really appreciate it. I'm very new to casting. The Grizzly vs. Omni game was literally the first attempt I'd ever made at casting, so I have a lot of work to do and I'll be working hard to improve. And I appreciate everybody who's watching and everybody who's leaving feedback. Thank you guys so much. So thanks for watching the game, and this is Senex signing out.